Hello and welcome, guys, to this next episode of Google Ads Unleashed. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you also enjoyed the last couple of episodes because they were a little bit different. They were a couple of interviews, and I'm going to try and get more interview partners on as well. For instance, on Friday, I'm going to be doing an episode which is going to go a little bit deviate from Google Ads. It's going to be about SEO. I'll be talking to a local SEO agency owner. And yeah, we're going to have a really good time talking about and nerding out about Google and how the two channels work together. But today I want to talk about, this is going to be a short one. I want to talk about something that is relatively new in the Google Ads sphere, and it is search themes. What on earth are search themes? So first of all, let's start with what, where they are used. So roughly 2 years ago, Google Ads rolled out a new ad format, as you're probably very well aware, and that is Performance Max campaigns. And Performance Max campaigns are an ad format which comprises many channels, right? Search, display, discovery, YouTube, shopping, etc., etc. And you can add as many assets as you want to all of these various channels, right? So you can add, I think it's up to 20 images off by heart, 5 videos, a bunch of headlines, etc., in order to create a campaign type which sort of covers many, many areas, right? Also, something that you can add to those campaigns, and I've actually done this in my best practices. I've already talked about this in my best practices podcast, is audience signals. Okay, so in the audience signals in Performance Max, you can basically tell Performance Max campaigns, hey, what are kind of the ideal people looking like who I want to target with this campaign, and kind of what's the stuff that they sort of search for, what sort of pages they visit, etc., etc. And you usually do this by mixing certain audience signals together. So how it used to be was as follows. You would sort of select, for instance, your own data. So that'd be stuff like customer lists. So you could tell Performance Max, hey, our customers look like these people on that list, right? So classic first party data. Or you would, for instance, add in relevant retargeting lists, right? So, for instance, all add to carts of the last 2 weeks, as an example, or any other hot audience. So you would first of all add all of that sort of remarketing data. Then you can also choose other signals, and that is in-market audiences and affinity audiences, etc. So you can do, for instance, research around sort of ideas, what Google Analytics shows you, what kind of audiences are relevant to your user base. You can also maybe look at your brand search campaign if you have audiences layered above that, and have a look what audiences are performing a lot well, really well. People who are searching for your branded name, and you can see in which audiences they hang out. You can add all of these sort of valuable audiences to your Performance Max audience signal. You can add what gender they have, how old they are, sort of what your ideal audience is, etc. Right? So, and you were also always able to add something called a custom audience. So that is, for instance, what kind of search terms people are looking for who are interested in sort of your service. What kind of sort of websites do they visit, right? So, for instance, do they visit, competitor websites? And you could sort of feed Google with a lot of interesting data. And I don't want to go massively into depth in how to do that because I've covered this in a different podcast. But what my recommendation here was to always just use common sense, right? Like in terms of remarketing, use your customer list, use relevant retargeting lists. In terms of audiences, just you look at the data, right? Look at your search campaign or other campaigns, a brand search campaign, or look at Google Analytics, and it'll tell you what audiences are important. in terms of demographics, use your brain, right? Like naturally, if you make a product for females, then you should give audience signal female. And what has now changed with search themes is that this custom audience part, what I just talked about, what kind of search terms are they looking for? What kind of websites do they visit? That has been replaced with search themes, okay? And there are certain new best practices that you will want to implement with this, okay? And what search themes now is and how it works is it is basically a sort of way of how to replace custom segments. And you have in search themes 25 signals or 25 sort of phrases that you can input. Some when these could be, for instance, phrases and words that people who are interested in your product or service are looking for, and you can add them into your audience signals. And well, who does this work best for? Well, it works best if you have certain insights, for instance, about your customers or business from your Google Ads account. So, for instance, you can already look back on what sort of search terms have converted. It also works if you've just launched a new product or a new service line and you need to kind of feed Google with a couple of ideas what your product is about. Think about it like a kickstart, right? Imagine you've got a moped and the battery's down and you have to like kick the pedal in order to charge the battery in order to start the engine. That's kind of what this is about. You can also use search themes when you've just expanded into a new market and where campaigns don't have any extensive sort of performance history, or also if you want to ensure that you are really showing for these keywords, so you want to be adding them in there. And essentially what it simply replaces custom audiences, right? And there are certain best practices now how you want to be doing these, okay? So I recommend a three-pronged approach. First of all, have a look at what sort of top searches have performed in the past, okay? Just have a look into your Google Ads account, what kind of keywords for various product categories are performing well, what kind of search terms are performing well, and then you will want to bang in as much as possible into your existing performance max campaigns in order to sort of ensure that you have this comprehensive coverage on the keywords that you want your products and services to appear on. So that's the first thing. The second thing that you will want to do if you are completely new and you have no data to go on is do your keyword research. Okay, so just have a look what sort of the top searches are that people might be looking for, and then use those top searches, and feel free to not just stick to one search unless there's only literally one word for the product or service that you're offering, but feel free to make use of up to 25, right? And just feed Google with as much information as possible. And then what you want to be doing is, after a while, after you establish what sort of certain searches may be working for your brand, is going back to the drawing board and then tweak those search themes. So basically goes back to what I said in point one, right? Check what works for your Google Ads account. And the third pronged approach is it sort of starts to give you an illustration of how to actually structure your PMAX campaigns in the first place. Let me explain. Because why I've seen a lot of people struggle with search themes is because their PMAX campaigns aren't well structured, and search themes really illustrate that point. Okay, so very often what we see, and this is a common error, and I've also done a podcast about this, how to structure your Google Ads account in the best way. And something that a lot of people do wrong is that they have, for instance, one performance max campaign with one asset group, and they just chuck all of their products or all of their services in there. This does not work, okay? It's not good. And search themes really illustrates this, because let's say, for instance, you sell hoodies and jogging trousers, yeah? And you have just one asset group with that, then what search themes do you put in there? Jogging trousers and hoodies, both at the same time? How many more keywords do you sort of put into the search themes of hoodies versus jogging trousers? Like, all these complications arise, right? And the answer really then shows you what you're meant to be doing is you're meant to be splitting them out, right? Either if you're crazy and you want to do one asset group per product category, which is a little bit weird, I'd rather do one campaign with one asset group per product category. And then you can go back to the said approach, right? If you have data already, pop in those keywords and that'll sort of do the trick. Or do keyword research for your hoodies and then for your jogging trousers and add those search themes into the asset groups, into the audience signals. And then you should be, good to go. Something that you can also think about is also what sort of problems maybe someone has, right, in order to find your kind of products. So instead of literally searching about the service itself, it could be about what problem they experience. Okay, so for instance, last month we've now finished working with this brand, but there were many issues which were out of our control, so it wasn't really due to Google Ads performance. But they sold a supplement for dogs. Okay, so instead of having the one campaign which was about joint supplements for dogs, and having like a couple of keywords in the search themes around joint supplements for dogs, we also put in search themes, for instance, like my dog has arthritis, or the dog is not walking properly, or this sort of stuff, which are symptoms and the problems that people are searching for, and then which have also converted in the ads account, right? Instead of actually the word joint supplement for dog. So you'll have to be a little bit sort of creative with what search themes you can find that can provide the uplift that you're looking for your Google Ads account. And that's pretty much it. So it's a lot of people might be overthinking this, but that's all there is to it. And you just have to really be creative with them and play around a little bit, and soon it'll all make sense to you. So to sum it up, the custom audiences are gone, search themes is new. Make sure that you use sort of themes maybe from search terms that you find in your Google Ads account, or do the keyword research and pop them in. If you find after a while that something kind of works, like you see certain keywords of certain search terms are converted, add them in as search themes, that's absolutely fine. And make sure that you structure your PMAX campaigns in such a fashion that you can actually structure the search themes properly with the right audience signals as well, because otherwise you are just all over the shop and you're doing everything half and nothing full. So if this is helpful, or if this is still confusing, let me know. But you can also reach out, simply send me an email. It's jeremy@younganddigital.marketing, or find me on LinkedIn. It's just put in Jeremy Young Google Ads, you'll find me. And yeah, it'd be great to connect and have your views on that. On that note, that was a pretty short episode. Thank you very much. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next episode.